My name is Matt McCoy, and I'm the founder of loopcommunity.com. I'm also a worship leader from Chicago, and I've been leading worship since I was about 13 years old. So we're going to dive in today. My goal today is that this is going to give you a good introduction of how to use tracks in worship. All right, whether you're kind of at a church, small church plant, and you don't have many people, maybe it's just you on a guitar and no one else, or maybe you're at a really large church where you have a full band, but you want to use tracks to kind of keep everybody on the same page and maybe to enhance what you've already got going. All right, I've kind of been on both spectrums. I've led worship at small churches, in church plans, setting up at a school auditorium, but I've also been on staff at larger churches where we have a full band, even like an orchestra, we have a band director, but we still used tracks to help enhance what we were doing. And so today, I'm gonna give you a full overview and we're gonna make it simple. That's the main goal of Loop Community, is we wanna make a complicated thing simple. So as we go through this today, you're gonna see that we've taken an app that, it can be complicated to run tracks, and we've tried to make an app that's simple for you. We've made hardware devices that make running tracks simple. So we're gonna dive in together right now. We're actually gonna build a set list together from scratch as if we're leading worship this weekend. And hopefully by the end of this class, we're gonna come out with a worship set and you're gonna know exactly how to start using tracks at your church. That's my goal. So let's dive in now. The number one question, the first question we need to answer are, what are tracks? Because some of you might be brand new to this and you're like, what are we even talking about? What are tracks? What you need to do is just think of tracks as an accompaniment track or backing tracks that help enhance the sound of your band. So I'm actually going to play something for you now. What you might notice is that when you look up on stage, you see people wearing in-ear monitors, and you're like, well, what are they hearing? So I'm going to press play, and the one thing that they're hearing is a click track. And this is a metronome that keeps everybody in time together. Playing to a metronome is the number one thing you can do to help enhance the sound of your band. So everybody's hearing a click, just like that, but they're also hearing this.
Intro, 2, 3, 4.
They're hearing band cues. You heard that girl say, intro, 2, 3, 4. These band cues help your band to know exactly where they're going. So if you've ever been in a rehearsal where for like the 20th time you had to stop the rehearsal,
Verse, 2, 3, 4.
and say, hey, no, we're going to the verse there, write that down. And then you have to stop and do it again. Well, what's cool is that with tracks, and this is my personal favorite thing about tracks completely, is that everybody in the band now knows exactly where they're going, because there's this little voice in their ear letting them know, hey, we're going to the verse, 2, 3, 4. And it's really a great way to love your volunteers, because now no one's trying to guess like what your worship leader smoke signals are. They're like, hey, wait, what does it mean when he's stomping his feet?
Chorus, 2, 3,
Oh,
4.
it means chorus. So now they know exactly where they're going in the set. So I think that band cues and click are awesome, but it doesn't stop there. What they're also hearing are different instrumental pieces that are helping enhance the sound.
Intro, 2,
So
3, 4.
one thing would be like a loop, which I just brought in there, or maybe a synth part,
Verse, 2, 3, 4.
or a piano, or pad, or maybe even like the electric lead part. So you can actually bring in the different instruments that you need to help enhance the sound of your band, which is really cool, because let's just say that your bass player doesn't show up. Well, now I can just turn on the bass by just clicking the on button here on the bass, and now we have a bass track that we can play along with. Or if your drummer doesn't show up, now we have drums.
Chorus, 2,
Or
3,
acoustic.
4.
So you can really use tracks to add the instruments that you need for your band. So I'm going to unsolo all those so we can hear it all together. And this is what tracks are. And this is what's really cool, is that you can actually just mute whatever instruments you don't need, which you haven't always been able to do. Way back then, people used to just play with accompaniment tracks that were just one solid mix of everything. But now you can actually say, hey, no, actually, we just want to play with just that.
Bridge, 2,
So you can
3,
customize the
4.
sound of your tracks. So what Loop Community is we are a platform that we provide tracks, we provide an app to run the tracks, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and we create hardware to help you control the tracks and get it out into your sound system. So before we talk about the software, let's just talk about tracks, because the question is, well, where do you actually get the tracks to play in the app, right? So this is the beginning foundation. So I'm going to show you loopcommunity.com. And this is the website when you first go to it. All right, and what we do is we sell tracks that are made from a couple different sources. The first source are community tracks. So if you're a worship leader and you create tracks for This Is Amazing Grace, you can upload them to the website and sell them. And every time they sell, you make money. But it's also a great way just to help and support other worship leaders all over the place. So we sell community tracks, which these are really cool because then you kind of get different takes on how people are doing songs all over the world. We also sell master tracks. So if you're looking for the original tracks from the record label, you can download master tracks. We sell premium tracks, which these are tracks that we record in our studio. And typically this is for when we don't have access to master tracks and we want to provide a high quality solution. We record our own premium tracks that are super high quality that match the original recording. So it's really simple. All you do is you can create an account, log in. It's simple, it's free. You don't have to pay anything to create an account. Once you log in, then you can just go to songs and search for any song that you're looking for. So we have like our best-selling songs here. Let's just say you're looking for Living Hope. I can type in Living Hope, and it's going to show me all the different versions of Living Hope that we have. So there's the Phil Wickham version, Shane and Shane, Bethel. So let's just say you want the Phil Wickham version. We're going to click on that. And now we can choose whether we want the master track, the community track. So here's the master track. These are the original tracks from Phil Wickham's album. So I can click on that. What's really cool is on the website, you can actually preview and listen to all the different instruments just to make sure that they are, what you want before you buy them. If you maybe want to look at the community tracks, you can go here, and there's a ton of different community tracks you can listen to. Here's a Loop Community one that we made, and you can preview them, listen to them. Let's just say you want to buy this one. Now, there's two different options to purchase a track. You can purchase the Prime app only version, which is right here on the right-hand side of the screen. And this version will give you the track available to you in the app, which I'm going to show you in a second. If you're wanting the track to be used in the app, but also in something like Ableton Live or Logic or Pro Tools, then you want to get the Prime app and zip download. What that gives you is it gives you a zip file that you can download to your computer with the actual audio files in it that you can do whatever you want with them. So you can purchase that, or if you're just going to use the app, then you could get the cheaper version and just have it just in the app only. So two options, pretty simple, just depends on how you want to use it. Today, everything I'm showing you, you're going to want to use the Prime app only version, which is actually good for you because it's the cheaper version and it gives you everything you need in the app. All the tracks, you can customize the key, the tempo, the arrangement even, and we're going to dive into that in a minute. But I wanted to show you Loop Community because this is really the foundation of where do you get the tracks. So you create an account, search for songs. We give away free tracks also every month. If you go to the homepage and scroll down, there's a section called Free Tracks, and these are free tracks that we're offering right now, so you can check those out. We offer free tracks every single month, but you can kind of see what are the latest master tracks we released, the latest community tracks, the most popular ones that we have, all sorts of cool stuff, all right? So create an account, sign up, get some tracks, and then you need to get those tracks into software. And that is where we created a free app for you for Mac, iPad, and iPhone. And the app works exactly the same on all platforms, all right? So if you just go to products and just click on Prime app at the website, it'll bring you to the Prime app page where it kind of gives you the links to download in the App Store. If you just search in the App Store, you can find this app. And it's a completely free app, all right? We didn't want to charge you for this because we wanted to make something that's really easy to run tracks with. And we're constantly updating it and adding new features. And we didn't want to charge you because, listen, we're trying to support churches and we're trying to help you guys. I know just as a worship leader at churches that sometimes, the worship budgets that we had are not that big. So We wanted to provide you a free app that's no nonsense. It gives you everything a worship leader needs to run tracks. There's a lot of different options out there in running tracks. There's a lot of different apps you can use, but not all of them are designed specifically for worship leaders. And so this one we designed specifically with worship leaders in mind and give you the features you need for that. So go to the App Store, download the app. It's a completely free download. And let me now show you how the app works. So today for the demo, I'm actually going to be showing you the app on a Mac. But again, it works the same way on iPhone or iPad, whatever it is that you're wanting to do. So let me go. Let's look at the Prime on a Mac. And this is what it looks like when you first dive into it. Let me just give you an overview of what we're looking at here. On the right-hand side of the screen, this is a set list. So you can reorder the songs in your set list by dragging them around. These are the songs I'm doing in my set list. Then on each song, if you click on it, over here are the different tracks that you get with each song. So the acoustic, the bass, there's a cello on this one. I can go and press play. And let's just solo, you can hear. There's the cello. Or if you want to solo the drums. Or the piano. Or the pad.
Chorus.
All right, down here is your transport controls. So this is play, pause, stop, next, and previous. Your master volume fader is right here. And so these are your tracks that you can turn up, turn down. Up here at the top, this is your song overview. So it shows you where in the song you are, which is really helpful when you're leading worship and you look down at your computer, you can see exactly what's coming up, where you're going. And I'm going to show you in a minute how you can jump around and be spontaneous with those sections, which is pretty cool. All right, so you have your set list, you have the different tracks. This is your song overview. Now here's a very important piece to this, and this is where people get stumped, is how do we actually connect this to our sound system? How do we get the audio out of the computer, out of the iPad, into our sound system? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually just, to keep this really simple at first, I'm going to show you later this guy right here. But at first, I'm going to just show you the headphone jack. We're going to come out of the headphone jack on my Mac and go into our sound system. All you need is a cable that looks like this. It's a headphone cable that splits to 2 1/4-inch cables, all right? Standard headphone cable that splits to 2 1/4-inch cables. And you can get this cable for like $7 on Amazon or something. So check this out. It's really simple. But a lot of times people think, well, a headphone jack is only one output because it's one jack. But actually, a headphone jack has 2 outputs because it has the left side and it has the right side, right? Like a stereo signal. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pan the tracks and the click. So the clicking cues that we heard, the verse, 2, 3, 4, we're going to pan those to the left-hand side of the headphone jack, which will be this cable. Then we're going to pan the tracks, like our backing tracks, the bass, the guitars, keys, to the right-hand side of the headphone jack, which will be this part of the cable. So all you do is you plug this into your computer, all right? Then I'm going to use 2 direct boxes. And these direct boxes, I have one labeled as click and one labeled as loop, all right? So I'm going to use these. You probably have a couple direct boxes just hanging out in your, in your church closet somewhere. So one's click, one's loop, and you just plug in the click cable to the input here. So this is the left side and the tracks in the right one. And then you connect these to your sound system just how you would any other instrument, like your guitar or your keyboard. All right? So it's pretty simple. That's how you would set this up, connect this to your sound system. You get the click sent to however your band is hearing in your monitors, or hearing their monitor mixes, and you get the tracks out to the sound system and have your sound guy turn it up. Because you want to start thinking of tracks, your computer as another instrument in your band, all right? This is a whole other instrument in your band, and so you want to have your sound guy turn it up. So that's the easiest way to connect all this. And I'm going to show you a little bit later how to do this using an interface with multiple outputs. So let's go ahead and dive into more of Prime. what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a set list from scratch, okay? So I'm going to go to load set list, and you can create and save set lists. You see that I have a few here, and I can load them, but we're going to create a brand new one, and we're going to call it, February. Let's just say we're leading worship on February 16th. I'm going to click create. It's going to give me a blank slate now that I can use to create my set. I'm going to click on add song, and it's going to bring up my song library. Now these are all the songs that I've purchased from Loop Community. So remember we were looking at Living Hope? Well, if I would have purchased that, automatically it'll just show up in this list. It's pretty easy. You don't have to do any sort of importing. You just buy it and it will show up right here in this list. So I can see all the different songs that I've purchased. So let's go ahead and pick our first song. We're going to do Lion and the Lamb first. So I'm going to click on that. I can see that it's already been downloaded. And now I have my song in the set. Let's go ahead and choose another song. I'm going to go to add song. And let's do, how about the next song will be Cornerstone. Okay, so you can see it's adding these songs to my set. I'm going to click add song, and we're going to do another one. This one we're going to do Oh Praise the Name. And if I need to reorder these, like, hey, I want to do Oh Praise the Name second, I can just drag that around, just like this. Pretty simple. Now, on each song, I can see the arrangement, and I can see all the different instrument tracks. So let's look at Lion and the Lamb. I'm going to press play, just to see if we can hear it. And I'm going to mute whatever instruments we're not going to need this weekend. All right?
Verse 2.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, actually, let's just skip ahead to the chorus here. And I'm playing acoustic, so I'm going to mute that. We have a bass player, so I'm going to mute that. We have a drummer. I'm going to mute the electrics. And actually, I might leave an electric in, just because our electric player this weekend is brand new. And so it might be helpful just in rehearsal to have some electrics in case he needs to hear the part. This can be a great rehearsal tool, too, for your musicians. So we're going to keep it like that. And then I can go to my next song and set all of those as well. For the purpose of this demo, we're just going to leave everything on, just so we can hear everything. But what I would do is first is go through and turn off the tracks that you're not going to need. You could also turn them down, if some are too loud. But you get the idea. You can kind of mix the song how you want it to sound. So I've got 3 songs in my set list. What we can do as well is, so let's just say we have 3 songs, but then I'm like, you know what? Actually, we need to add another song, but we don't have a track for it because we're adding this last minute. But we don't have a track, but we still want to play to a click. Well, I can add a click track by just clicking on Add Song and go to Add Click Track. And I can type in the name of the song that I want to add. So let's just say we're going to do Holy, Holy. All right? And you can set the BPM that you're going to do it at. You can choose the time signature. And you can also choose the click sound. We have 5 different click sounds you can choose from. So let's choose one called Rim. Click Create. Now when I click on that, I have just a click for Holy, Holy. In the bottom right of the screen, you can actually change the tempo of that click. So if I need to speed it up, or if I need to change the time signature, I can change it here. Here's my time signatures. So you can customize the click here. What's really cool too is, let's just say you're in, Lion and the Lamb, and you're like, you know what? This song actually, it's too high. I'm gonna actually turn these on just so we can hear everything. You're like, we need to change the key.
Chorus,
well, I can just with one
3,
click
4.
transpose the entire track down. So we were in the key of B, now we're in the key of A. And Prime uses smart transposing, meaning what it does is it only transposes the instruments that need to be transposed. So drums don't get transposed, tambourines don't get transposed, but things like keyboards and guitars all get transposed. So we can transpose it if we need to, or let's just say we need to speed it up. We can just click up on the BPM and it speeds up the tracks while keeping everything in time with each other, which is really awesome. You can slow it down.
Verse 2, 3, 4.
Let's just say you're in the track and you're like, oh man, maybe we got off the track and we want to fade it out. You can just click the fade out button and it's going to automatically fade out the tracks for me. The click is going to keep going. If I want to fade back in, just click the fade in button and it'll fade all the tracks back in. So that's an option that you can use as well for fade out. Now the important thing to know is that down here in the mixer, the red faders are your clicking cues. Those tracks are automatically panned. You don't have to do anything. They're automatically panned to the left-hand side of your headphone jack. The blue tracks are automatically panned to the right-hand side of your headphone jack. So when you're using this cable, Prime uses smart panning to pan everything for you so you don't have to do the work. It just pans the red tracks, go out of the left-hand side, and the blue tracks go out of the right-hand side. Okay, so now that we have our first song in the set, let's just say, you can go through and you can actually change the key or the tempo of any of these songs by just changing it here. The other important thing to know is that when you make changes to the mix like this, they save when you go back to the different songs. So all the mixes save song specific. Now, let's just say you're like, you know what, we're in Oh Praise the Name, and we actually don't want to do the intro of this song. We just want to jump right into the verse. Well, you can customize the arrangement by just going to Edit Song, Edit Arrangement, and you can right-click on the intro and just click Delete Section. If you're on an iPad, you just double tap. Now it's going to just jump right into the verse. Now check it out. What's really cool is that the cues
Verse.
update
3,
depending on what
4.
I tell it to do. So I had changed it to start with the verse, and the cues, we use dynamic cues, meaning the cues are generated in the app, and it'll use the cue whatever you tell it to do. So let's just edit the song a little more. Let's just say you're like, hey, actually we want to go from the verse right into the chorus. I'm going to just drag the chorus. And let's just say actually we want to do a couple choruses back to back. We're going to just move these blocks around. So you can customize the song however you want to do it. Right click, delete. If you want to add a section, like let's just say I want to add the intro back, I can just double click and choose, add the intro and click OK. And it's going to add the intro and I can move it to where it needs to be and hit done. And now I have a custom arrangement, and the click and the cues are going to update depending on what arrangement I did. Just that alone saves you so much time in running tracks. If you were doing that in something like Ableton Live, it might take you 20 minutes to set that up. So in Prime, you can do it really quickly, just like that. So we just customized the arrangement of the song. Now, if you want to reset it back to the original, just go to Edit Arrangement and choose Reset, and it will reset it back to the original arrangement of the song. Now, one thing that people ask us a lot is like, well, what if I'm playing to a track and I want to like loop a chorus again and do another chorus? Well, there's a way to do that by just using the loop feature inside of the app. So let me show you how this works. Let's just say you're in the chorus of Oh Praise the Name, and you're doing the chorus, right? Let's just say you're playing through the chorus and you're like, oh man, we got to do this chorus another time. I can just press the repeat function down here,
4, 2, 3,
and it's going to repeat the chorus one more time. You heard the cue even say chorus. Let's just say you're like, hey, we're going to repeat this chorus a bunch. I don't know how many times we're going to do it, but I want to just repeat it forever. You just click on repeat twice, and it turns on infinite loop, meaning it's just now going to repeat the chorus forever and ever until I turn that off.
4, 2,
So that's a
3.
really great way too to be just kind of flexible, where you're not stuck to the track. The track is stuck to you instead, all right? So the other thing too is, let's just say you're in the song and you're like, oh, I want to go from the chorus back to the verse. Well, we have something called section jumping, meaning you can jump to another section of the song at any time. So all we're going to do to set this up is just go to Settings, and you'll notice there's a couple options here. It's called Jump Time, and you can choose, do I want the section jump to happen at the end of the current section? Do I want it to happen after one bar, or do I want to have it happen after 2 bars? For this demo, I'm going to show you end of section. So let's just say we are in the chorus here, and I want to go to the verse. I can just click on the verse.
Verse 2.
When it gets to the end of that section, it jumps to the verse of the song. Let's change this to 1 bar, and I'll show you what that sounds like. Let's just say we're like, hey, we want to jump to the chorus right now. Let's go.
Chorus 2, 3, 4.
So I clicked on it, it waited 1 bar, and then went to the chorus. So the reason we added these features is because we had a lot of people say, hey, I want to be spontaneous with tracks. I don't want to be locked into an arrangement. And so we added section jumping and section looping to let you do that, to really make it so that you're not controlled by the tracks, but that you're controlling the tracks, all right? So that is section jumping, section looping. Let's look at a few more options that are in settings, okay? In settings, you can actually choose different cue voices. So if you need Spanish cues, you can choose a different cue voice. So you have Spanish cues, or if you want Phil Wickham to lead you through the song, you can choose
Verse 2,
Phil Wickham.
4.
Or if you want to have Meredith Andrews, or if you need Portuguese cues, you can choose Portuguese. All right, so a couple different cue voice sounds, which is really cool. We also have a feature called dark mode. So if you want kind of like a darker view of the whole thing, if maybe it's too bright for you in white, so you can turn on dark mode. We also have different click sounds. There's rim, marimba, or digital. If you're an Ableton Live user and you kind of want an
2,
Ableton Live
3,
sound,
4.
you can use that one. If you want to turn on the click subdivision, you can just click ×2. If you want to remove the click accent, you can just click on the checkbox here for a click accent, and it just gives you straight beats. If you need to pan the audio, so if you're using this, in worship, you're going to want to make sure pan is on,
3, 4.
because what you're hearing now is you're hearing the click on the left and the tracks on the right-hand side.
2, 3.
So this is how you would
4.
want to have it set up and connected if you're using this on Sunday morning. Sometimes we get emails and people are like, hey, I can hear the click in the house, what do I do? Or I can hear the tracks in the click channel. And we always say just make sure that pan is turned on. For this session, for this video, we're just using stereo so that we can hear the tracks better. So I like to use stereo when I'm in my office and I'm maybe like getting the tracks ready. I think it just helps to kind of hear the tracks in full stereo. And then when I get on the stage, turn it on to pan. Okay, so those are some of the options that are in settings. You can also zoom in on the waveform if you want to like view the waveform up close a little bit more. You can edit the arrangement of the song. You can change the key, change the tempo, section jumping or repeating and looping, fading out. Now let's talk about transitions. This is a question that we get a lot. It's like, well, hey, how do I get these tracks to just flow together really smoothly? Well, we added different transitions inside of Prime that make this really easy. I'm going to show you how to use them now. So there's 5 different transitions you can use. On the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see a little arrow that's pointing to the right. These are your transition options, okay? So the first transition option is just normal play, right? This is the default option. What this means is when it gets to the end of the song, it's just going to stop playing, and it's not going to do anything else. So you'll notice, I'm going to set this up because I actually want to try this. You'll notice at the ending of this song, there's a lot of dead space at the end of here. If we press play, you'll hear it. Although I don't think I don't want to bore you. You don't need to hear this now. But there's a lot of dead space.
3, 4.
So we're going to actually trim it. I want it to kind of stop right around there, around 4:30. So down here, you can actually use a trim function and say, I want the end of this song to be 4:30. Just like that. You can also add a fade out if you want to fade out the track a little bit. You can also trim the start time. Some tracks maybe have a empty section at the beginning, and you can trim the start time of the track if you need to. So let's go and just hear what happens with this normal transition option. It got to 4:30 and it stopped. And now I would have to start the next song. Now let's go to the next transition option. I'm going to click on this little arrow, and it gave me a little arrow that kind of has a down arrow on it. And what this one is called it's called auto advance. What this means is when it gets to the end of the song, it's going to auto advance to the next song. So it stopped and it went to the next song and it played the next song. So you can set up auto advance, so I could just be hands-free. I don't have to do anything. All right, let's look at another transition option. Let's click it again. This one is called crossfade. Sorry, this one's called overlap. What this one does is when it gets to the end of the song, it's going to start playing the other song over it. Not fading them out, but just playing them over each other. So let's go ahead and press play and you'll hear what this sounds like.
Intro, 2, 3, 4.
So then it went right into "Oh Praise the Name." It overlapped the audio. Okay, let's go ahead and try another one. We're going to do crossfade. This transition is the same thing as overlap, except for that it fades out the audio and then fades in the next one. This works really good with a pad. So actually, let's go ahead and bring in a pad. I'm going to click Add Song. And we have these pads for sale at Loop Community. If you just search for Prime pads, there's tons of them. And these are really cool because they sound like this. And you can customize the sound of them. Let's just say you want to take out the third. You can kind of customize the sound of your pad. Also, you can change the key of the pad. So let's actually think about this. We're going to come out of Lion and the Lamb, which is in the key of B, and we're going to go into "Oh Praise the Name," which actually we're going to do in the key of A, because C was way too high. But I'm going to use a pad to transition us into that. So I'm going to bring the pad up, and I'm going to change the key of the pad to A. So when we get out of Lion and the Lamb in B, it's going to crossfade into a pad that's in the key of A, which will set us up perfect for "Oh Praise the Name." So let's hear what a crossfade sounds in this situation.
2, 3, 4.
Cool. So Lion and the Lamb stopped, it faded in a pad in the key of A, and now I'm ready to go into "Oh Praise the Name." So let's look at the other transition. This one is called trigger. What this means is that when it gets to the end of the song, the click is going to just keep playing forever until you tell it to do something else. The reason we added this feature is because some guys are like, hey, I want to get to the end of the song, and I might just want to do another chorus or another bridge, but I want to keep playing to a click. Well, trigger is a great option for that. So when you get to the end of the song,
2, 3,
the click is going to just keep going on forever and ever until I tell it to do something else. So now I could just maybe do another down bridge of Lion and the Lamb, or whatever it is that I'm wanting to do. And then when I'm ready to go to the next song, I can just press next, and it'll launch into my next song. All right? Now, let's talk about crossfading, because this is something that people want to do a lot, and it's something crossfade on demand. It's like, well, how can I smoothly crossfade? So I showed you how you can crossfade from one song into a pad, but how do you come out of the pad into the next song, which for us is "Oh Praise the Name"? I'm going to show you how to do that now. It's really simple. So let's just say that we're in Lion and the Lamb, and in my pad, let's just say that I actually want some time to maybe read a scripture or give some sort of direction. And I'm actually going to, this pad is 2 minutes long, so I have 2 minutes to do that basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on crossfade on the pad, and you'll see that it's actually going to give me an option to on demand, when I'm ready to go, it'll go into "Oh Praise the Name." I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to be using the next button. So let's go ahead and press play on Lion and the Lamb.
2, 3, 4.
All right, so we're in the Prime pad now. let's just say I'm going to say my scripture, I'm going to do whatever I need to do, and then I'm ready to go into praise the name. Whenever I'm ready, I can just press the next button, and it's going to crossfade into O Praise the Name.
Intro, 2, 3, 4.
Which is awesome. It works perfect because, Praise the Name is in the key of A. It's a smooth transition, and we're ready to go now. So you can use crossfading to, you can automate it,
2,
or you can do it
3,
on demand.
4.
Now let me show you another thing that I like to do. This is a little tip, is when I read scripture, I like to give myself kind of a time limit on that so I don't talk too long. So on what I would do for this prime pad is I would just go to the end time and I would set this to however long I want to give myself. So let's just say I'm like, I'm going to give myself, for this demo, if you just press and hold, it'll skip to, we're going to give ourselves like 30 seconds, all right? I'd probably usually give myself a minute, but let's just say 30 seconds for now. So what's going to happen is we're going to come out of line on the lamb.
2, 3, 4.
It's going to crossfade into the prime pad. And I have 30 seconds now to read my scripture, say what I'm going to say. And when it gets to about the 20-second mark, it's going to start, O Praise the Name. There it goes. And the reason it did that is because I had crossfade turned on.
4.
So you can really automate your entire set by using crossfades, which is pretty awesome. I'm going to show you real quick where you can get those pads. If you just go to Loop Community and click search, just search for Prime Pad. And you'll see tons of different pads that we have, different collections that all sound differently. And you can choose different keys, different tempos. And you can download these pads as either WAV files or just in Prime. And they're only $5 for Prime. So check out Prime Pads. It's an awesome enhancement to what you can already do inside of Prime. So those are transitions. Automate, crossfades, overlap, trigger, which is really helpful if you just want to keep playing to a click. Okay, so we've talked about a ton of things. Section jumping, section looping. Now let's talk about some people ask, well, I want to use my own audio in the app. How do I do that? So we made something called Prime Cloud, which is a completely free way you can upload your audio, and your audio then will show up in Prime, and you can add the different section markers that you want to. So all you do is you go to the website. In the top right corner of the screen, after you log in, there's going to be an option for uploading. When you click on Upload, you can then zip up your audio files and upload them to Prime Cloud. Once they're in Prime Cloud, you go back to the app, and if you click on Add Song, you'll be able to find your upload. So I have one called Found a New Test that I uploaded. All right? And it looks like this. There's no section markers. And this is just my track. It's a track, and it's a click. But I want to add section markers in the app. It's really easy to do. You just go to Edit Song, Edit Markers, and now it gives you your track on a grid that you can now double-click on a downbeat and choose what section that is. So I'm going to say this is the intro. And I can scroll over and say, okay, this is going to be the verse. Really simple. So you just do this through your whole song. I can double-click here and say, this is a chorus. When you add all of these markers, what's really cool too is you can kind of flip them around if you need to by just dragging these dots around. And you can add your own section markers. When you're ready with that, you just press Save. And now that you have section markers, I can do things like editing the arrangement, dragging these blocks around, and section looping and section jumping. You just have to add your own section markers. But it's really easy to add your own section markers inside of Prime, all using Prime Cloud. So just zip up your audio files, upload them through the website, and they'll be available to you inside of Prime. Okay, so we're getting through this, right? We've built a set list. We've talked about a ton of things. What I want to talk about now is how do you control your tracks? So if you're a worship leader like me, where I'm a guitar player, and when I'm playing guitar and leading worship, I don't have my hands free to be, controlling the tracks on a computer. And some worship leaders, this comes down to preference. Some worship leaders want the drummer to run the tracks, so they put the computer back by the drummer. Or some worship leaders put the drummer back by the keyboard player. When I lead worship, I like to run the tracks because I like to know, I kind of know when I'm ready to go into the pad or ready when I'm done reading the scripture. So I needed a way that's hands-free. So we developed foot controllers. These are called Loop Dumas, and these are foot controllers that you can use to control your tracks in Prime. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, but before we get there, check out this video that talks about Loop Dumas.
Loop Dumas Mini is a simple yet powerful way to control your music software. Use Loop Dumas Mini with Ableton Live, Prime, or any other MIDI-capable application. Connect Loop Dumas Mini to your computer or mobile device using a USB cable. It will automatically be recognized and powered by your device. Loop Dumas Mini has 3 buttons that send MIDI notes to control your music software. Use Loop Dumas Mini to start, stop, and advance to the next song. Connect an expression pedal to control volume and other effects. Loop Dumas Mini can also be used to expand the capabilities of your Loop Dumas controller. Once they are connected, Loop Dumas Mini adds 3 additional buttons per bank, 3 more standalone buttons, or can be used to quickly switch between Loop Dumas modes. Whether you're using Loop Dumas Mini on its own or together with Loop Dumas, the possibilities at your feet are endless. Loop Dumas Mini is available in 5 colors. Choose from blue, green, yellow, red, and black. Giving you hands-free control, do even more with Loop Dumas Mini. Now available at loopdumas.com.
All right, so that's a video that talks about Loop Dumas Mini, and let me just show you these units now. All right, so we have 2 different Loop Dumas controllers. We have a big one called Loop Dumas, and then we have a little brother called Loop Dumas Mini, which you just saw that video for. And both of them work exactly the same, except for that one has more buttons than the other. All right, so first thing I'm going to show you, just because we're getting basic here, is I'm going to start with the Loop Dumas Mini. So we're going to just plug this in with a USB cable. On the back we have a USB jack, and we have a expression pedal jack, so you could plug in like a volume controller. So I'm going to plug in the USB, and we're going to plug this right into Prime. All right. And now when you plug it into Prime, you'll notice that the little MIDI button lit up, which means that it detects a MIDI controller. I'm going to click on MIDI. And anything that you see that has a white box on it can be assigned to a button on the Loop Dumas Mini. So I'm going to go ahead and click Erase, which is going to erase all the previous MIDI mappings I had. And we're just going to keep this simple for this. I'm going to click on Play. This is going to be Play. So I just click on the Play button and then choose which button I want to control play. And then Stop is going to be this middle button, and Next is going to be this button. And that's it. So now we can just put this down by our feet and press play when we're ready to play the song. It's going to play through the song. If we want to go to the next song,
Intro 2.
we can press the next button, which actually we have crossfade on, so it's going to crossfade into the pad by just pressing the next button. And if I want to stop all the tracks, I can just press the stop button. So that's a really basic way to set up the Loop Dumas Mini. But what's cool about the Loop Dumas Mini is that even though it has 3 buttons, you can actually assign 6 different controls to the controller. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then press and hold gives you 4, 5, 6. So 6 different things you can control with 3 buttons. So let me show you how I would do that. I would maybe go to MIDI mapping. Let's just say I want this to be play, this to be stop, this to be next, but then I want repeat to be press and hold, and I want fade out to be press and hold on this button, and let's just say I want, how about we want to turn the click off, press and hold this button. We'll turn the click off. So now I can go and go into Lion and the Lamb. You know, we can press play to play the song. If I want to loop this section, I can just press and hold and release. And now it turned on the repeat feature inside of Prime. You can see the repeat just kind of turned on there. Or I can press and hold to fade out. Now it's going to fade out. If I want to fade it back in, press and hold. Press stop to stop the track. So you can use the Loop Dimus Mini to control Prime, and it's really easy to use, very easy to set up. Again, we're trying to make complicated things simple for you. Because when you're leading worship, you don't want to be thinking about all these controllers and computers and devices. You just need to be thinking and focusing on leading worship. So we're trying to make products, an app, tracks, hardware that makes running tracks really simple for you. So that's a great option. Let me show you the other Loop Dimus pedal. I'm going to just unplug this one. And we'll plug in the bigger Loop Dimus. When you plug it in, we're going to get an LED that turns on here. And you can go through different pages by pressing the next and previous button. Think of a page as a song, all right? So I've got 20 different songs that I can use, and then each song has 6 buttons. So here's a way you could use this inside of Prime. I'm going to go to MIDI. I'm going to erase all those previous MIDI mappings because we don't need those. And here's how I would do it. Maybe song 1, all right, is Lion and the Lamb. I'm going to make this button the start, this the intro, this the verse, you know, this one maybe the chorus. I'm mapping those section markers, right? The bridge and the outro. And then the Loop Dimus has a global stop button. I'm going to press stop, and that is going to map the stop button. And then I would maybe go to my next song by pressing next. Let's go out of here. And I can map, you know, the same way. I would go through my entire set list, mapping on per bank all my different songs in Prime. So if I'm on song 1, I can press start, and it starts playing Lion and the Lamb from the beginning where I press that. Or I could say, hey, let's go to the chorus or the verse.
2, 3, 4.
I can press the verse button and it'll jump to the verse. Or hey, let's go to the bridge.
Bridge. 2, 3, 4.
If I need to stop my tracks, I can press stop, and I can use the next button to go to my next song. And you could really, this would be a great way to have full control of your tracks, where now you can tell your tracks to go exactly where you want them to go by mapping those buttons. So MIDI mapping is easy, and we're just scratching the surface of what this controller can do. You can actually play pads with your feet using this controller. If you just search YouTube, we've got some videos that show that. You can actually, this turns into a piano for your feet. So if you go to pad mode, by just holding the stop button and go to pad mode, you can choose the key, and then buttons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 play the 1 chord of the key of C, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord. So you can play pads with your feet. There's also a program change option in here. If you want to maybe be changing program changes on your guitar pedals or sync up with Ableton Live, you can use Loop Dimus to do that by using the 5-pin MIDI. There's also an expression pedal jack for doing volume adjustment. And there's another jack on here that you can use to actually connect Loop Dimus to the bigger one. So that you can actually connect these 2 pedals together, and it gives you 3 more buttons on Loop Dimus. So that is Loop Dimus. If you guys are interested in that, check out loopdimus.com. Go to loopcommunity.com, and you can check these out. The bigger Loop Dimus, this is $299, and the smaller one is $99. So check that out at loopdimus.com. You can order those. So let's talk about one other product that I'm really excited about. And it's something we released not long ago, and it's called TrackRig. Now, the question is that worship leaders were like, hey, you know, I don't want to use the headphone jack because then all of my tracks are mixed down to one channel. And then the sound guy doesn't have any control over the tracks. Like, you know, if you're up on stage and the sound guy's like, hey, the tambourine's too loud, he can't control the tambourine. You'd have to control it inside of Prime. Well, with TrackRig, instead of using the headphone jack, TrackRig gives you 8 different XLR outputs. So this is an interface that you can plug into your computer or your iPad. It gives you there's a USB jack to plug in your computer, and it gives you 4 USBs to plug in maybe your phone to charge it, your iPad to charge it, a hard drive with tracks on it. This works perfectly with Ableton Live, Prime, just plug and play, simple. But what's awesome is you plug this into your computer and it gives you 8 XLRs. So it's like a DI in a way, because it's basically combining one of these with an interface. So you don't need DIs, you just plug in the XLR cables and it gives you the different outputs of all your tracks. And this is really awesome. So what I want to do is, before I show you how to connect that all, check out this video about TrackRig.
TrackRig is the best audio interface for live performance. Giving you 8 XLR outputs, TrackRig has everything you need to connect your tracks directly to the sound system. With TrackRig, using tracks has never been easier. Whether you're new to backing tracks or have been using them for years, TrackRig simplifies and streamlines the entire playback process by making it easy to route your audio where it needs to go. Connect TrackRig to your computer or mobile device using a USB cable. TrackRig will automatically be recognized as an audio output device in Ableton Live, Prime, Logic, or any other playback application. There's no installation process, no confusing software audio routing, just plug and go. Once TrackRig is connected, route your tracks to any of the 8 line-level XLR outputs. There's no need for direct boxes or adapters. Simply run standard XLR cables from TrackRig's outputs directly into your soundboard or audio snake to begin receiving strong, clean, high-fidelity signal. TrackRig also acts as a USB hub for your computer or mobile device. TrackRig gives you 4 additional USB ports to connect your MIDI controllers, external hard drives, or even give your phone a charge. Why pay for a recording interface when you aren't doing any recording? TrackRig eliminates the need to buy expensive audio interfaces and direct boxes for your tracks to be heard. TrackRig combines everything you need into one simple, rack-mountable box. The future of live playback interfaces is here with TrackRig. Get yours today at trackrig.com.
All right, so that's TrackRig. Let me show you how to set it all up. It's super easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to just plug in the power for TrackRig. When I plug it in, you're going to see all the lights flash for a second. That means it just received power. And then we're going to use a USB cable. I'm going to come out of the TrackRig host port, and we're going to plug it right into my computer. If you're using an iPad or an iPhone, you would just get the Apple adapter that lets you plug in USB cables into your phone or iPad. But with a computer, I'm just going to plug, I have a USB port on here, I'm going to plug it right in. And now all we're going to do is in the left-hand side of the screen, there's a button that says Devices. And this is where you choose the audio output device you're using. So right now we're using the built-in output, which is the headphones. I'm going to change this to Loop Community TrackRig. You'll see that the outs option lit up, which now, just like MIDI mapping, I can click on outs and it shows me the outputs for all of my different instruments. So if I want the acoustic to go out output 4, I can just change it like that and it's going to go out output 4 on the TrackRig. Or 5. You know, I can set the outputs here. If you want to do stereo pairs, you can choose stereo. That means that this track is going to go a stereo out 5 and 6 of TrackRig. I'm going to use mono for this. So you can just set the outputs, and when I press play, you should see the different lights on TrackRig light up. And it shows us, you know, that audio is being sent to these different outputs. And the tracks that I assigned to go out of these outputs are coming out here. So again, you would just plug in XLR cables and plug that right into your sound system. And now your sound guy has control over every single instrument. So in Prime, all you do is, you just click on the songs and click on outs, and it gives you the output options for all of your different tracks. It is as simple as that, honestly. It does not get any easier than that, I can't imagine, all right? Now, if you want to maybe also use Loop Dumas with TrackRig, you just take a USB cable, and I'm going to plug it into the back of TrackRig, into one of the USB hubs. If my phone was like running, it was running dead right now, I could just plug it in and actually charge my phone off of TrackRig, which is cool. But I plugged in Loop Dumas, and now you can see that I have output options. So I can set the outputs of my song for TrackRig. And I also have the MIDI option because I plugged Loop Dumas into TrackRig. So now I have full control of my tracks. I can use Loop Dumas to control them. I can use TrackRig to let my band and the congregation hear the tracks and make my sound guy really happy. Trust me, because when they are able to control the track volumes, your tracks are actually going to sound better when they have full control of them. And then we have Prime, which is a completely free app that we offer worship leaders because we just want to make it easy for you. We're passionate about helping worship leaders run tracks better and simply. And so I hope that this class has given you a good overview of what it takes to run tracks in worship so that you can really focus on leading worship and not focusing on the technology part of it. So what I would encourage you to do now is go to the App Store, download Prime. It's completely free in the Mac App Store and in the iOS App Store. So go download Prime, go to loopcommunity.com and create an account and download some of those free tracks that are there. And you can then play with those in Prime and kind of get a feel for how the app works. What I would say is if you're brand new to this, don't feel pressure of jumping into using tracks right away. What I mean by that is don't feel like you have to use it this Sunday in front of 300 people. What I would do is just download the app, get some songs in there, play around with them, and maybe just try using one at a rehearsal. Get your band used to playing to a click. Because it can be a learning curve. If someone hasn't played to a click before, it can be a learning curve. So maybe just bring it to rehearsal, play along with a couple tracks. If you get off, don't worry, just stop the track, start the song over again, do it again. But take baby steps with this. You're gonna find that it's a lot easier to do than it seems. And I hope that this 1 hour session has given you a good glimpse of how you can set this up at your church.